Imagine if I could tell that 20-year-old what I know today about sales. Holy crap. No matter what they said, I sold them the same product. And that is bad salesmanship, bad thing to learn. And it took me a while to get out of that habit. I used to tell people, I can sell anything. I can make anybody buy anything at any time. Ooh, I cringe at that. If you've ever followed Shakespeare, he had to sell like crazy to get his plays into the theaters. No one knew who he was. Like all 20-year-old salespeople, I thought I was the absolute boss. I used to think that I was like so good at sales, and I did close some deals as a 20-year-old. But you know what? Imagine if I could tell that 20-year-old what I know today about sales. Holy crap. I could have sold a lot more. And that's why. This just advice to my younger self. I know you can't go backwards. I know that I know what I know now is what I know, and I can't know it then. But here, I'm going to give you just I love thinking about what have I learned about sales? What advice would I give my 20-year-old salesperson? Could I sell as much as a 20-year-old as I could as a 57-year-old? I mean, I've sold over $75 million of deals. I've done over 25,000 sales meetings, and I'm on my 35th, soon going to be 36th year of sales. I'm recording this. Actually, I must be in my 36th because I came out of university in September. Way back when, like 1989. So yeah, this should be my 36th year of sales. And if I could take what I learned or what I know now and what I'm putting into the sales movement and tell my younger self, that would be cool. So let's jump in the little DeLorean, the time travel machine, and I'll tell you a little bit about my younger self. I'll tell you what I know now. And if you're 19 and watching this, take on these lessons, people. They're going to help you. If you're in your like middle age, 35, 40, well, it's middle age to me, I think there's still some really key bits that you would enjoy. And if you're 57 like me and watching this, let's do this, people. You send me in what you know as well, because I'm going to be selling for another 35 years. And imagine that. So I'm going to be selling 35 plus 57 is 92. When I'm 92, and I'm the best 92-year-old salesperson on the planet, I'm going to think I probably sucked when I was 57. Right now, I think I'm pretty good at sales. We'll find out. But it's those journeys through time, because in the moment, you can only know what you know. But anyway, let's do this. Okay. Framework. I was selling a range of pretty average, crappy products at 20. Horse manure, LED display signs, I sold encyclopedias, so much fun. I sold life insurance, as I've talked about a lot. Just a range of stuff. And I think as a younger person, when you're new to sales, I started with scripts. So I was given a script, and I still remember one of them. And so let me tell you what the script was. Let me give you my pitch. Then I can give advice to that person. Why that pitch? No. But I learned something from it. All right. Worked for a company called Allied Dunbar. We sold life insurance. I was on commission only. I did 40 cold calls every morning from the phone directory, tring, tring. This is 1990. So this is right back way when. I did try to do 4 or 5 meetings every afternoon. So I would do meetings and go and see people. And then at night, I would walk around and knock on people's doors in London and go, hello, can I sell you life insurance? Man, I mean, I was getting my reps in. People talk about getting their reps in. I was getting my reps in. Here was the pitch. So we're selling life insurance. You guys know what life insurance is. It is money that gets paid out when you die to your family. I would knock on the door and go, hey, I'm Ned from Allied Dunbar. Can I just ask you one question? And I think if they were like, oh, he's going to ask me, do I want to buy something? And I would say, can I ask, do you love your family? Now, maybe not everybody loves their family. I hope and wish for you all love your families. But overwhelmingly, people are like, yeah, sure. I'm like, that's great. Like, because, we just want to make sure that if anything happened to you or someone in your family, the insurance would pay out. So yeah, I just want to make sure everything's okay with that. You're all okay with your insurance? And obviously you're selling, right? It was a script that would lead them down the emotional path of, do you love your family? Yes. Well, you would have insurance then. Well, no. Oh, what, you don't have? It's okay. Like, we can talk about that. Or, yeah, I have it. Oh, okay. Is it enough? Okay, maybe I can make sure that it would be just the right amount for your family. But all of those scripts and framework led to only one outcome. I only sold Allied Dunbar life insurance. I didn't sell anything else. There's nothing else I could sell. That's all I had. I had like a one-trick pony. And I would listen to them, and some people would have different needs, different number of kids, different financial situations, blah, 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 different everything. And at the end of it, we'd be like, anyway, so this product is perfect. I didn't have any other product. It was only perfect because I had nothing else. And that would be my advice to my younger self. I ended up getting trained on what we would call is stuffing a product down people's throats. It's a short-term way of doing it. And, I learn a lot from 40 cold calls a day. I learn a lot from being on commission only. I learn a lot from knocking on doors. And I learn a lot from having a script. But my advice is that you have to get away from the script as quickly as you can. You have to assess the situation, because my younger self wasn't good at assessing the situation. Same script every time. Mr. A, Mrs. B, Mr. D, Mrs. C. I went A, B, D, C. Jesus, I need some work on my alphabet. A, B, C, D. Anyway, you know what I mean? No matter what they said, I sold them the same product. And that is bad salesmanship. It's a bad thing to learn. And it took me a while to get out of that habit. It really did. I used to think, and here's another advice to my younger self. I used to tell people, I can sell anything. I can make anybody buy anything at any time. Whew, I cringe at that. Some people don't need to buy anything. Really. They don't. You want to be a long-term great salesperson? What you want to be doing is selling the right things to the right people at the right time. I said this in all my shows. That's what you want to do. I promise you, it will give you longevity in sales. So number one piece of advice to my younger self is appreciate the learnings from the script. Appreciate what you get from that. But that number one learning is get away from the script, because you're just going to end up selling the same thing to everybody. So don't be that Allied Dunbar salesperson I was. Don't be selling the same product no matter what they say. Be the salesperson who understands what they're saying. All right. That was me, age 20, selling something that nobody really wanted, but I learned my piece. The next thing, I actually sold something that people really needed. It sounds dumb, but it was a garden fertilizer. And I learned something in that moment that's taken me a long time to really assess and understand. And this is going to sound a little different, because it's not about the sale to the customer. We've talked about that repeatedly. Here's what I understand today that I didn't understand when I was 20. When you work I worked in a sales team in Melbourne selling Better Grower fertilizer. Maybe 15 of us in a room, and we were all selling. What I got wrong was I thought I was only selling to the customer. I didn't understand. I understand it now. So do you know who else you're selling to? Your colleagues. Sales is one of the few professions that's called a sales team. I don't think that the lone wolf in a sales team is sustainable. I don't think that role. Now, there are a few people who play it and play it well, and, like the mercenary type person. Sure, maybe there's a small role for that. But it took me too long to learn as a young person. My advice to that person would be, make time to sell to your colleagues. What do I mean by selling to your colleagues? People buy from people they like and trust. If your colleagues like and trust them, what do you get? And it came to me. It took me a while. Can you figure it out? What do you get when your colleagues like you? You get something. They buy something from you. That's right. You get promoted. Who wants to be head of sales? Who wants to run sales? Who wants to be global head of sales? Who wants to be CEO? I'm not going to say every CEO is a salesperson, but I'm going to say a lot of CEOs are salespeople. For the first few years of my sales career, I was really thinking about myself way too much. And actually, it was about 10 years in when I started working in a kind of slightly smaller sales team that I could see it and feel it. The team had no leader. We were all doing it ourselves. And it was clear that we needed somebody. And it really struck me that if I can sell to my colleagues that I'm that right person, it will come to me naturally. And so I became this, head of sales in my 30s, actually maybe even my 28s. I then brought the company I worked at in my 30s because I was leading sales. And then I became CEO in Asia for a US listed stockbroking company called E-Trade. And just for all you people listening, Robinhood wasn't the first online broker. There was many before that. And in the 90s, I was running the Asian part of a company. But here's the reality. I got that role because I was good at sales and good at selling to my colleagues. It's a lesson you should learn really early. Get in that sales room. Don't be the lone wolf, because what's your goal being a salesperson? It's to earn commission. And earning commission is about selling. But when you're in a sales room, I don't think everybody can win. I think there's always going to be, to a degree, winners and losers. So there's somebody who's just great at sales, but the person in the sales room who the team likes the most gets the most opportunities, gets given the extra leads, gets given the promotion, gets given all of these different factors. So starting your career, think about your colleagues, think about your customers first, but think about your colleagues as well. Okay. When I became a sales leader, I had to learn the formula of sales. So, lesson to my younger self, learn the formula of sales. So I'm going to give it to you right here. It's a fantastic formula. I get asked all the time by people, how much commission should I pay salespeople? Or if you're a salesperson, how much should you get paid? I can tell you to the exact dollar how much you should get paid. It's an exact formula. So I'm going to tell you how it works. And if I'd known this when I was a younger salesperson, I think I could have earned more money. So I'm going to give you the secret to get paid correctly. Okay. Any salesperson who doesn't bring in their salary a year should get fired. So if you get paid $100K a year, and I'm thinking I think this goes across all sales, but particularly in B2B sales, you have to be bringing in your salary a year in sales. So let's say you earn $100K a year, you have to be bringing in $100K. If you're not, you should either quit or I would fire you. Because if you get paid 100 and you bring in 70, 80, 90, I'll park this comment, but it's never about anything else. If it's only 70, 80, or 90 that you're bringing in, it's not the product, it's not the pitch deck, it's you. It's you, it's you, it's you every time. So, number one lesson, if you're selling less than 100, leave before they fire you. Here's the next grade. 2 to 5 times your salary. So you should be selling, it's really 1 to 5, 100 to 500, but I like this kind of little quirk, 2 to 500. You should be selling 2 to 5 times your salary. So if you're earning 100 and you're selling 250, 300, I think that's about right. I think you're getting paid fairly. I think if you can bring in 300K, you're getting paid 100, you should get 10% commission of what you sell. So 30 of 300. So you walk out the door with 130. And all the way up to, say, 5 times. If you're selling 500K a year, and you're getting 100K base, you should be earning 150, 100 plus 10%. Now, and I don't think you should or could be asking for a pay rise if you're in the 3 to 5 times range. If you're in the 5 to 10 times range, so if I'm a sales guy and I'm getting paid 100 and I'm bringing in 500 to $1 million, I can start to call my own shots a little bit, honestly. I'm like, okay, I think, so let's say I bring in $1 million. I'm getting paid 200K. So 100,000 base and 100,000 commission. If a company that I brought in $1 million and they said, oh, we only pay 2% commission, I'm out of there. I'm gone. You have to know your worth. And this is as a younger person. I went through periods where I probably should have been fired because I was learning sales and I wasn't generating enough and they should have fired me. But I also went through periods where I was massively outselling everyone else and I didn't know my value. I didn't understand it and I wasn't getting paid properly. And I left money on the table. So if you're selling 5 to 10 times and you're on 100K, you can happily ask for a pay bump to 150, I would say, because then you're still selling, say you're selling 750,000, that's still 5 times your salary. And then you make the choice. Do you want to bump a little bit in base or how do you want to take it? But then I would say you're in really good shape. You're a great salesperson. You're going well. If you're selling more than 10 times, man, you can do what you like. You can go to another job, your hot property. You want that company to be all over you, treating you like gold. If you have this framework, and if you are in a place where you are selling that much or selling that little, if you're selling that little, you know what you want to do? Listen to more podcasts like The Sales Movement. Get some more training. Go and sell something else because you're doing it wrong. 2 to 5, you're doing okay. 5 to 10, you're doing great. And 10 and above, like this is for you. You're going to be a fantastic salesperson and you can either move jobs. If you're selling $1 million and above, you can just go to a competitor and say, hey, I want 200, 300 base, and they will pay you. So there's my framework. Listen, today, I think we're on thing number 4, I would tell myself, this is because I am literally 35 years in. It's never about the product. It's never about the macro environment. What do I mean never? You missing your target, you not selling enough, is only about you. And let me tell you why. I was on a call with somebody a couple of days ago, and they've been struggling hitting target. And I asked them why. They said, well, the product isn't ready. COVID slowed things down, and people have less money to spend. Really, people? You're going to blame a macro environment outside of your own control for why you're not selling? I used to think that too. I remember when I was selling early on, I was like, oh man, the bosses suck, or the pitch deck sucks, or the product sucks. It does not. You suck. You absolutely suck. Number one, if you blame anything outside your control, because your control should be, if truly the product's terrible and truly no one's buying anything and truly it's the wrong company, then just leave. Just leave. But the reality is the pitch deck doesn't suck. It's fine. The product doesn't suck. You can sell what you have. And this is going to move into another thing I would tell myself. But, you have to take control. If you're not closing deals, go and find out why not. I just talked about it. I couldn't watch Zoom videos back then, but today, if you're not closing deals, rewatch your own sales meetings. Find out what's going on. Like, it's on you because somebody can sell that product. So many products are not sold properly because people are thinking of other reasons. So I used to stomp around the sales room, be like, oh, I don't have the right products. I don't have the right pitch deck. Absolutely not. Today, anything I don't sell is on me. Everything I do sell is also on me. So I don't want to hear it from you, anybody. I want you to be absolutely clear. Whatever product you have, get out there and sell it. Don't blame anything else. It is the right way to get things done. Okay. One lesson I think I did know as a young person, but I think a lot of people don't. So this is not a lesson for my younger self, but this is a really honest lesson for a lot of you listening. And I'm just going to say it as it is. I think a whole bunch of you just don't try hard enough. I don't think you're doing enough meetings. I see some people doing incredible numbers. Sales, to a really large degree, is a numbers game. You absolutely have to be doing large numbers. Email outreach, cold outreach, meetings, not just for the sake of closing deals, but for the sake of practice. So I think you hear Gary Vee talk about this quite a little bit. Alex Hormozy talks about it. Yeah, you have time. Like they always say, look, you've got a lot of time to do stuff, right? But do it. Like, don't sit and wait. So my younger self was 20. I used to think 57 was ancient. Like I would be like in a wheelchair by now. Not in a wheelchair yet, people. And I'm going to be selling for another 35 years. And in 35 years, I'm going to do a podcast that's going to say what my 92-year-old self can tell my 57-year-old self about sales. Because I'm still, like right now, I'm learning how to do sales. I'm learning how to do content. I'm learning how to do a lot of different things. But I think a lot of people today don't understand that one of the biggest truths in sales, it is a volume game. It truly is. And people spend too long time thinking about it. Oh, what if the client doesn't reply to this sale? What happens if I do the meeting and no one replies? Or what happens if I do this pitch and it doesn't work? So, yeah, my younger self, I was pretty relentless. I think it plays into my older self now. I'm not very good at doing low numbers. I still, I've talked about this a lot, 25,000 sales meetings. Let's just break that down. I've been at it 35 years. So if you think about it, 35 years, 25,000 sales meetings, it's like 7,500 meetings. So 750 meetings a year. If you work 250 days a year, because the weekend's out, that's 3 meetings a day. Remember, I have this framework. You've got to do 10 meetings a week. These numbers start to make sense, right? And this is what my younger self couldn't grasp. You see, at 20, you can't grasp 35 years in the future. At 20, I don't think you can grasp 25,000 sales meetings. But what I realize is every meeting adds. Every little brick in the wall adds to it. Do you think you can do 3 meetings a day? Surely you can. So why don't you? I rarely meet people who are doing 15 meetings a week. And what my younger self needed to figure out is that to get 15 meetings a week, I got to do 100 calls. I got to do 200 emails. I didn't have email back then. I did 200 reach outs. Or I had to send out, I used to hand out leaflets in the street. Leaflets are fantastic. You know what? For a bit of retro, hand out leaflets again. It would be cool. I was doing hundreds of leaflets in the streets. I was doing hundreds of calls to get the meetings, to get 3 meetings a day, to build up to where I can be today. But I couldn't necessarily see that at 20. I'm like vaguely a Z-grade influencer on LinkedIn. I love it. And it took me a little bit of bravery to do this. And my younger self would, back then, I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I would have put myself out there to the reality of building my own brand. You're starting to see young people building sales brands. There are people out there who are building their brand. My younger self, I could have done it, no excuse. I just told you in the last lesson, no excuse. Back then I didn't have social media, I didn't have anything. But people were building brands. I mean, William Shakespeare had a brand. He was the greatest writer ever. He had a skill. But if you've ever followed Shakespeare, he had to sell like crazy to get his plays into the theaters. No one knew who he was. Like everyone knows who he is today. I've watched quite a bit about him. Not only is the greatest writer, and let's face it, writing's about sales, but that dude was brave. Like he went and took his plays into theaters that would never adopt them. He used to give out tickets. He used to be the ticket seller. Shakespeare got into the theater by selling tickets. That is what he did. And he was super brave. He put on plays that were not accepted. And of course, we know how the story played out. But when you're 20, be super brave. And I think today you have a unique opportunity. I didn't back then. My advice, if I was 20, I would have been way braver. I would have built myself a personal brand, because that's what I see today is the people's perception of you matters almost as much as your sales skills and the numbers as well. So I would have told young Ned, get out there. Don't worry so much about what people think about you and really start to learn. And possibly the most important, this is going to sound self-serving, but I'm going to call out one of my, I don't love the word mentors. I really don't. I don't know why. It doesn't sit quite right. I'm not a big fan of, the hero. Everyone's a hero. Like life's pretty challenging. But I had a sales mentor that this guy was just the best. His name was Angus MacDonald. Not surprising he was Scottish. He built a company called Edinburgh Financial Publishing. I worked there. And he said, when I got the job, when I started, we actually sold books, physical books. I was like 22. We sold, you remember what books are? Like heavy. I had to carry his suitcase. I carried his case of books. So I kind of trailed behind. But he said, you can carry my suitcase and come to meetings. But you have to carry my suitcase, just sit there, say nothing, and carry my case. And when I need a book, you just pass it to me. I got to watch the magician at work. Seriously, people, this guy was a magician. And I've talked about this a lot on my show. Sales is a performance. It's art. It's performance art. You're creating something out of nothing. You create rapport, a relationship, trust, likability. You're creating something out of nothing. It's amazing. And Angus, we used to walk in this room. He had this goofy smile. His suitcase was like 100 years old. It was all bashed up. And he would make a joke about it. And honestly, I used to watch this guy. I would have paid tickets to see this guy perform. He was a true magician. And he understood. And I think, I used to think he was an old dude, which he was. And after 35 years, I don't know if I'm the same level of magician as Angus, but I can see it all now. I see it all. I see the way he maneuvered the meetings. I can see the subtleties that he used. I see that reference we talked about, when you're dancing with a partner, the subtlety of movement. And if you're young, and I wish back then, I actually kind of rebelled a bit. I was like, I don't want to carry Angus's bag after a while. I think, I know this. And I stepped in myself, and I stepped in too quick. And I was like, oh, look at me. I can control a sales meeting. And I didn't have it. Today, I know, keep pointing at this microphone. I don't sell microphones. But one thing I figured out, if I went to a meeting to sell microphones, I'm pretty sure I could figure out why they want to buy. I'm pretty sure I could get them really close to buying, even though I know nothing about this, because you're controlling that meeting. So my younger self, Ned, if you're listening in Back to the Future DeLorean and you're coming back in time to do this, spend more time with Angus. Spend more time learning. And today, for all you people listening to this and you want to learn, whether you're listening to me or any of the great sales coaches out there, do that. But also, if you have an opportunity to be in a meeting, to be there, listen for that magic. Watch it. Try to understand it. And when you finish in that room, when you finish on that call, write it down. Try to memorize it, because with all these lessons, you're increasing volume, you're creating a brand, you're listening to that person, you are really understanding what you're doing. You are shortening the cycle to be great. And let's leave it here with one of the lessons that you all know. I want to change it a little bit, but they tell you can only sell something you believe in. I mean, it's not true. I hate to say I can sell anything. I don't want to say I can sell anything to anybody. But if I was asked, I could sell most things. But when you're young, and if I'd said to Ned as a young person, don't sell that life insurance that you sold. I learned a lot, but I also learned some of the parts of sales that I didn't want to do. And I almost left sales. We lose so many people to sales. We lose so many people from sales. So many great people leave sales because they're in an environment that they're not selling a product that they love. They don't have a mentor. They're not in that right place. And I would encourage you, if you're in sales and it's not quite right, just give it one more try. And look, if in the end it's not for you, totally fine. It's okay. But young Ned nearly left sales. I was like, I'm selling the wrong product. I don't believe in it. I don't think this even resonates with people. I don't think it makes sense. Give yourself the opportunity to find a product you love. I sell the sales movement. I adore it. And it helps me in my sales. It doesn't have to be your own thing, but just find something that you absolutely love. You can spend time selling something you don't love just to get the reps in. But all I encourage you to do is don't make that too long, because you're going to dull your senses. Sales is about senses. It's about knowing when to lean in. It's about knowing when to lean back. It's about knowing when to speak. It's about knowing when to be quiet. And it's the most beautiful thing you'll ever do in your career. I cannot imagine being anything else apart from a salesperson. And you know what? Even though these were my little lessons to my younger self, you got to roll with it as it is. But I hope this helps anybody listening. As I said at the beginning, if you're 20 listening to this, do what I'm saying now. If you're 35 or 40 and listening to this, there's still some, I hope some of these tips have helped. And if you're 57 and listening to this, I hope it made you smile. I hope you're still selling. And tune back in when I'm 92 for my lessons to my 57-year-old self in how to sell better. Get out there and sell, and we'll see you on the next show.